Let me ask you this, Mike. If you're the Patriots, do you start making calls to sell today?
I think I think you have to entertain that conversation. I mean, you're 1-5. You got the Bills and Dolphins up next. The trade deadline's October 31st. For the first time that in Bill Belichick's time here, you got to look at it and say, we're not buyers, right? I mean, what are you buying for? And so then I think you look at, I guess to me, the question would be, what would you be selling? Like, could you get someone to take Juju Smith-Schuster's contract that you signed them to? Probably not, right?
But how about Uche?
Kendrick Bourne.
Trent Brown.
Well, Trent Brown you could get a lot for. I'm not being sarcastic. You could get a lot for Trent Brown because no one's traded an offensive lineman at the deadline.
Yeah, so Trent Brown.
You could get. You might
Hunter Henry. I mean,
there are pieces here you could sell
Trent
off.
Brown. What do you think you could get for Trent Brown? Do you think you could get a second for Trent Brown for a team desperate for a tackle?
I don't. No, I think you're looking. I think you're looking at maybe a mid-rounder at best on that. So then, to me, it becomes the question of, is the return worth it? Is another 4th or 5th round pick, is that really worth it? I think a lot of times on the trades, it's more about clearing out bad contracts if you can, than what you'd get in return. And also too, I'd say this, guys, like they need pieces going forward. So you say, like, let's say Kendrick Bourne. I mean, I would push back and say, I don't necessarily want to entertain a trade call where I might get a mid to late round pick. I would entertain contract extension talks because that might be a guy you want to keep around as you try to get this thing turned around. Let me pull it up for you. Maybe 28, 29.
No, too old. I'm not kidding. I don't want anyone that's 20 that's under 20 that's over 28 years old.
It's 28.
He 29 next season. That's too old. I'm telling you, you're rebuilding now. And maybe they'll rebuild the right way this time instead of going crazy in free agency, bringing in a bunch of trash. I mean, don't you think this is going to be a multi-year rebuild, wouldn't you say?
I think that's fair to say. I wouldn't put. I mean, on the age with Kendrick, like I just think he's the type of guy you want around, right? I don't know if you heard him after the game, but I think he's got the right mindset and attitude. And I know what you're saying.
He could be the new Slater. He could be the new how did we feel guy. I mean, I'm telling you. I mean, if you
who has the most value? Let me ask you that. Who on this team has the most value that you could get?
I like it, Rich, because I was asked the same question yesterday, and it really forced me to stop and think. So I think for teams that are looking to bolster their depth, like your Trent Brown thought was good, but I would put it more on the other side, like a player like Devon Godchow, a defensive tackle. Like if there's a contending team that is needs depth on the defensive line, those guys are hard to find during the season if you've had a run of injuries. And those are those type of trades are generally the ones that happen where a team might be looking at it and saying, okay, here's a little bit of an older guy. We had signed him to a big contract. If we can get out from the contract, and even if we get a late round pick in return, the getting out from the contract so you can be more, have less financial responsibility. That's usually the type of trades we're talking about in these scenarios.
But you said Rich asked you most in return, what you would get in most in compensation, and I'm telling you, it's Trent Brown because there's going to be a bunch of defensive linemen. Leonard Williams, the Giants are going to trade him. There's defensive linemen that are going to be moved. The only reason I say Trent Brown, I don't think Trent Brown's a very good offensive tackle. I'm just telling you that if a team is desperate, Jets, that need to bring in a body that teams just don't trade, I guess, offensive linemen around the deadline very often. Yeah. So you might actually be able to get something for him. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, and you might. And the one thing with him is he does have a little bit of a reputation around the league that, you don't always know what you're going to get from him. So I don't know how much.
Sure.
I don't know how much a team would trade for that. I'm just going down the roster and looking at others in terms of the greatest value that you could get in return. And it's an interesting exercise. I know Mike Gesicki is a guy that I know he didn't block Max Crosby well on the last play, but he was a franchise tagged player in Miami last year. He's the number 2 guy here. maybe a team that needs a tight end would consider giving you something. But again, guys, I would be careful saying like a second rounder or third rounder. I just don't think that's realistic.
Not for him. No, I just thought because you would know way more than me. The only reason I gave a high price for Trent Brown is that it would be a contending team whose pick would be you would see conceivably low in the round, and that it just doesn't seem like there's going to be many tackles available to at the trade deadline. You would know way more than me. No, but certainly like a tight end like Gesicki. I mean, you'd be getting garbage. You'd be getting
and here's another thought. I mean, their best players would give you the most in return. So, are you willing to trade Kyle Duggar? Are you willing to trade Micah Wenu? Are you willing to trade Ramondre Stevenson? So, if we're talking about the greatest return, those would be the players that come to mind.